You know, this morning I got up and the first thing I did was come down here and start painting. And I thought, this painting is so close to being finished, I'm not going to film, I'm just going to finish and give the last touches. So there we have it, it's done now. I think all I had left as far as covering the canvas was concerned was the lower left, but I wanted to revisit a couple of other areas. I put a little more light on the clouds in some areas. I changed the trail or roadway in the foreground a little bit. So let's just have a look now. I'll go through the colors that I've used on this. In the sky above the clouds, I've used mostly cobalt blue and a little bit of yellow ochre, hints of ultramarine blue here and there. And below the clouds, I've used ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and I mean very small amounts of it. Cadmium yellow pale. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I used a fair bit of yellow ochre and cadmium yellow pale with just hints of blue and a lot of white. I really wanted it to sparkle under those clouds. The clouds themselves are mostly raw umber and cobalt blue, a little bit of ultramarine blue in places. I got to the highlighted areas and I used really mostly raw umber, a bit of yellow ochre. Very small, I'd call it a smattering, but it's not even that much of alizarin crimson. Really happy with that sky. I like, yeah, it's just, I feel like I'm looking at the edge of a valley and it just drops off behind those trees. And these clouds are forming from the valley floor and they're just sort of showing up above the plateau above it. This distant group of trees is cobalt blue and burnt sienna, touch of viridian green, very little though. And then the field in front of it is yellow ochre, cobalt blue, alizarin crimson, a little bit of white here and there. I kind of mixed the cobalt blue and the alizarin crimson to make a sort of a mauve, and then I wanted to knock down the chroma of it a little bit because it's a pretty strong purple. So I added a bit of raw umber. And we'll get to this trail in the foreground. This area here is actually mostly burnt sienna, bits of alizarin crimson, and white. Burnt sienna, if you add some white to it, it becomes pretty strong. Then on the grass, the yellow grass on either side is yellow ochre and burnt sienna and white. A little bit of raw umber here and there to tone it down. As the trail comes closer, we get into the cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, bits of cad red medium, raw umber, a little bit of variety, some varieties of purple. That was kind of what I was after as we got closer. Those fence posts are mostly raw umber, bits of ultramarine blue in spots, pretty much straight titanium white. Now, there's a bit of raw umber even in the titanium white where it's catching, where the light's catching the fence posts. And these are all varying mixtures of ultramarine blue, very little cobalt blue in this grass here, really mostly ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. And moving over to to the green here and the green here, same thing. Ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, just sort of more ultramarine blue to cool it off here, more yellow ochre to warm it up there. As we get off into the painting, it warms up a little bit, and I wanted the foreground to be quite cool. So, I think there we have it. I'm happy with that. You can have these, you can have these strange cloud formations anywhere, but that's from an old prairie memory of mine, and I took it from a, well, I went back to a panel that I did a few years back. Really liked how it turned out, so I wanted to explore that same theme and do a larger size. I like it enough, I may just work on it on yet a larger canvas in the future. I think there's enough information there to keep it interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please give it a like if you did. And yeah, have a good afternoon. Thanks, guys.